It says you're live and recording.
Yes, we're live and recording.
Namaste.
Namaste to all of you. Welcome. All right, so it's been a while for some of you, and I know there's many of you who have been following us in India who are also joining us. We have a record number of people signed up to be on this crowdcast, and of course, this is appropriate because we're truly in a time of peril, and that recognition of this is becoming more and more real for all of us, wherever you are. This contravirus is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call that's breaking us out of the assumptions and the habits of our daily lives, and it's bringing us out of that complacency into a recognition that you could say is true, or a greater truth. That is, in terms of the fact that we're all interconnected. We're realizing this as the virus spreads throughout the world, and that our actions or lack of actions have direct consequences on other people, and it ripples throughout the entire globe. For me, this is my time. This is why I came. I have been preparing people for 15 years for this period of time. This is the Kurukshetra, the battlefield, by which a-dharma, the lack of dharma, is worked out so that a recovery of true dharma, the new dharma, can be reestablished. This is the Gita. This is the Bhagavad Gita. I've been teaching the Bhagavad Gita all these years. It's really preparing you the same way Krishna was preparing Arjuna for the battle that he was about to undertake or go through. The difference here, it is not the core of us, it is Mother Nature. Mother Nature has arisen to do for mankind what mankind couldn't do for itself. That the challenges and the loss and the difficulties and even the fear are evidence that this dejection that was lying hidden in us all along is being met. It's not living aligned with truth, not living aligned with our purpose. This is the purpose of all peril, is to break you up to the purpose of your life, to those essential realities that govern your very existence. And for all of us who have been awakened, and all of us who have been engaged in this transitional process as we go from dejection into discrimination, into right action, into greater knowledge, into renouncing those things that are no longer supporting the new Dharma, and this capacity to move into direct and immediate relationship with the divine reality that lives us, and from that place, live life, meet life. Now, it so happens that simultaneous with this event, this coronavirus, we had an event occur right around Valentine's Day in India, where a true descent of the Supreme Being occurred for one of my students. And it was clear to me that the bizarre behavior that went on for 4 or 5 days was because the system was rapidly being prepared to receive and hold what I call the Supreme Being, the fundamental principle of consciousness that we all are in the core of our being, from our very soul, the link that exists within us. I recognized at that moment that I was no longer alone in the work. In a way, I was going to allow the work to make a shift from working with all of you at the individual level to working with the collective consciousness. in the universal level. We have been speaking of this for some time. I knew it was coming. I didn't know the shape of it. I knew that I had to prepare people to be able to hold the call, the cry that's going to come out of this shift, this dejection, because this crisis we're in is always evidence of a revelation of that which is hidden, that which has not yet been met. And that we needed New Dharma and all the people who have been connected to me, all of you who have a relationship with me, are actually now being called up into a higher level of responsibility to be able to meet what might look like horrific challenges that are coming from our outer life. That the paradigm that we've habituated to, that we leave to go to India to get in touch with another paradigm and come back and find ourselves back in the old paradigm. That paradigm that before we could find in India is now going to be found in every day of your lives. How long, we don't know. But I can tell you that in my own experience, I'm recognizing that this is the piercing coming into the obscurity, pushing out what has been hidden, a piercing into a collective shift that is not going to end with this coronavirus. It is the leading edge of a new paradigm for mankind. And it's going to arise not from the work of any one person, but from the necessity, which is the mother of invention, that comes from the world, comes from the consciousness of the planet itself. The intentionality and the purpose of Earth is being threatened by Earth's children. And inevitably, there needs to be a correction so that Earth can be put back on her track in a sustainable way in order to continue to provide the opportunity for humanity to grow, to mature, and to grow up, to get real, and to come to responsibility for how the world is showing up in such a way that there's compassion, that there's freedom from fear. Are we still on? Right now, people are suffering in ways we can't imagine. It is affecting so many people in this entire world, this 7.4 billion people. How many have no power, no capacity to survive perhaps beyond a few days? And while everyone is involved at the surface level, in the media and the governments and the politics and the forces at work, who's being left behind? All those who are being left behind in this crisis without anyone recognizing the nature of the desperation that they've been in and now is going to push them to the very edge of their ability to survive. Our capacity, the work that I've done with all of you, is to expand your ability to hold this kind of transition and not get lost in fear or reactivity or repulsion, but rather to hold the space for all the anguish and pain, the ignorance and suffering that is likely to come out of this process, and be able to be attentive to those shiny lights that pop up here and there that are the early signs of the new truth consciousness coming to the world. Just like each of us have our own awakening, our dejection, our discerning what that was and how to change our lives and how to move into existence more truly, so too now mankind is going through the same awakening. And it's not an abstraction anymore. We're in the midst of it. It is a reality. Just like the truth that came to one of my students was seen by all as a verification of what we've been speaking of for these last 15 years, that the Supreme Being is something that you can find, that's already there in you, and that when it comes, it allows you to become useful for the world. So that's the call for us, and that's the call of this opportunity. And I'm wanting to point it out to all of you who are listening to this so that you can come up and meet it from not fear and withdrawing, but from moving forward in compassion, in love, in awareness of the purposefulness of what's arising. The old way is dying, and the new has not yet come. We are in this transition, no doubt about it. It's very personal. I know it's very personal. And I know that for me, my ability to connect to each of you individually is expanding. It's like I'm meeting you in the subtle worlds in ways I've never met. And there's always you seeing me and me seeing you, and me seeing you, seeing me. There's this connection that's happening. So one thing I want to say to those of you who have been connected to me, that I am with you in a way that perhaps has not been possible before. And it's not something I did. It's something that has happened concurrent with this shift that happened right around Valentine's Day in February. That the microism that's occurring within us is happening in the macroism. And the macroism, where it's happening, is also impacting the microism that each of us are. These are great times. Perhaps the most important times in known history. The whole world is in on this. The whole world is awake to this. Unfortunately, it's out of fear, but fear is often what shows up first as we enter into a domain beyond the sphere of our comfort zone, beyond the sphere of what we've known before, or what we imagined was possible, or what we had projected our futures would be. So this is a natural response, but it is evidence, in fact, of a new consciousness coming to you, a waking up out of your habitual routine way of thinking of yourself and life and people, and presenting to you this new quality of consciousness we're speaking of. So this is going to affect New Dharma. This is going to affect the work we do with you. It's going to affect how we can be in relationship with you. And actually this small, short little satsang is to kind of open it up for all of you who are listening and how this might be unfolding for us. Because at a very practical level, the state has said that we cannot have more than 10 people in the same room.
No, it said you can't have any gathering.
All right, so now we're at no gatherings. We're all being forced to be with ourselves. We're all being, keep your microphone. Yeah. We're all being given the opportunity to be with ourselves and not go out and distract ourselves in the ways we usually do, especially for those of us in the West. So it's a seclusion being imposed on you as one of the ways of preparing you and each of you and all of us and to come to our own personal journey more than the outer life that we're habituated to. So let this be a period of seclusion, of introspection, of self-inquiry. Pull back from the collective panic that's on Facebook and in the internet, and meet that within yourself as an experience, as an energetic event in your body, because it will very much help you meet the deeper layers of your own self-existence that have not had to be met in this privileged society we live in up until now. We have come to a point where we're going to be forced to penetrate into our fears, into what we've been resisting, into what has not been yet experienced. So hold this and recognize that that's what the creation is providing all of humanity at this point. And perhaps This medium, this remote medium, is going to become not so remote. It's going to become intimate. It's going to become a way by which we can strengthen the connection to that inner reality that's within us and be met by others. The Gita says, untruth has no existence, and truth never ceases to exist. It means there's no such thing as untruth. It's simply part of the mystery we have not yet been able to see as having its own truth. I know that one point when this virus, I was sick for 25 days in India, and at the midpoint of 14 days, it took on an intensity, just a tremendous intensity, and it came in like a fierce dark force that penetrated all the way down into my lower chakras, and it like a devil's virus. It was like an evil virus. That was the experience, and that it entered in. I was so shocked and went down all the way through my first chakra, and I said, "Holy cow, what is this?" And I then got very, very sick with a fever. I probably already had the fever, and couldn't breathe. And it went on for about 3 days. And then I was sick for another remaining 10 days or so. This was me meeting the intelligence of matter, of the Asat, the intelligence of the earth, sending an agent out, which was here to call and to cut away that which is preventing us from seeing and experiencing the reality, the consequences of our decades of living blithely consuming the earth. And that I recognized that it was not evil, that actually it was truth at a level of the collective consciousness, a universal truth that to me as an individual, I was living it that way until I saw its purpose. And once I saw the purpose, I saw the magnificence of the creation. I saw the magnificence of the opportunity for each of us, who are all the children, the flowers, the crop of the creation, to wake up to that remarkable mystery that's inherent in matter itself, not just in our consciousness. So let this in. Let it soothe and console that part of you that still doesn't know how to trust, still sees a peril as a peril, something to be afraid of, something to be avoided. And let the purpose, let the reason that this is happening become real for you. I see in me, I just wish I could create a place of sanctuary in the physical world so that all of you could be strengthened in your ability to hold this with me as we go through certainly this next year. But we're not able to do that. But perhaps through this medium, we together can create a sanctuary, a place where we can gather and find strength and consolation and clarity, and to recover our own direction, how to live our own lives. So I'm going to ask Satchamayi to share a little bit about what's immediately coming up for New Dharma, because of course many of our scheduled programs are not going to be able.
Oh no, they're all happening.
Yes, just not physically. So
there's not that much. I mean, So we're not canceling any programs because we've already been doing online programs for over 3 years. And this just gives us an opportunity to expand our experience with you and to provide more offerings. The first one that's coming up that I know many of you had signed up and are not going to be able to come to is our Lake Tahoe Galilee 9-day silent retreat. That is now going to be completely online. And so we're going to be updating the registration on the website so that people can see how they can join. And this will have, this will be an opportunity for people to join from all over the world, because we have people in Holland and Sweden, the UK, Ireland, and other countries that actually will be holding some of the small groups that we do with the 9-day. So this is kind of our first time to take something completely that has almost always been in person and have it all completely online. So that's the biggest change that will be coming. And then this is until further notice, but we will try to, the plan is to have Satri on at least 3 days during the week to do meditation or satsang that everybody will be able to tune into. And we're going to try to schedule them mostly at this time. So I know it's harder for India. For those who are in India, it's midnight, but for those who are in Europe, it's a little bit earlier than that. So as many of you know, Satri stays into meditation until like 10 o'clock. So it's hard for us to plan something early. So 11 o'clock is basically when we'll do this. So if many of you are already receiving weekly event mailers that let you know what we're doing. So if you haven't signed up already online to do that, you can go to satri.org and sign up for the newsletter. And what it will do is it'll send you a weekly mailing of all the events that are coming up. And there will be more things going through social media. We have a team now that's working on all of that. And I apologize for my voice. We've been back 2 days from India, so we're still in jet lag. So I feel a little scattered, but
You're doing fine.
I'm to get that, and that's all I have to say.
Oh, so part of what I've known, I probably have spoken of this, but when we came back to the house, I guess yesterday day is when I saw it. They're already marking out the new Satya Mandir building. So the plans have been passed. The groundwork is going to start soon. So literally the thing that I've been speaking about for years, that I was going to.
You need to speak the studio.
Build a studio, which I call the Satya Mandir, the Temple of Truth, to be a broadcast tower by which I can connect to all of you throughout the world, and is now under construction. So it's all perfect in terms of timing, because I've been complaining to Satya about the amount we travel for about the last 3 years. And this last year, we spent almost 6 months traveling. So that it's come to a point where I was saying, I'm not going to be able to keep this up. So I guess Mother Nature is on my side and providing me the opportunity to back off on the amount of travel we do. So I have that side of appreciation of our peril of this moment. But I do know that everything I've been doing, as I say to all of you, everything you've been living, everything you've made important is for this moment, is for this time in your life, today, here, now. And the possibility from this point of now is to open the space for a greater purpose than what's possible to be perceived from the ordinary human consciousness. So I invite all of you to join with me in this creating of this new possibility for the collective consciousness. I do believe the work now is moving a bit away from the individual, although I always believe and truly recognize that each of us is what makes the difference in terms of the collective consciousness. Moving away from focus on just the individual into this collective consciousness. And we are already doing it with the World Peace Meditations. And now that I'm back in the United States, I plan to take up again regular interventions on the collective consciousness to help empower. We're not here to work and go out and work in the streets and to do the physicality. We're here to, from the place of who we are, what we are in truth, become instruments and channels for this new consciousness to come into the planet, into the earth, to empower the shift from the inside out. That's how we're going to do this.
Many of you are already participating with us in the global study groups. So study of the Bhagavad Gita, the mother book, the Bhagavad Gita Revealed, as well as World Peace Meditations and Meditations. And these went remote probably from the day they started. So we're updating the global groups webpage. Satyapriya and I are finishing that up right now. And for those of you who are already involved, this is an awesome opportunity to get more involved with this, since you'll have a lot more time. And for those of you who don't know what a global group is, or have kind of put off because you've been too busy with work or your life, this is also a really great opportunity to participate collectively, because the remote groups, we have people who are connecting on these remote groups from India and Europe and the United States, and coming together in groups of 5 to 10, and they really love it. So it's another opportunity.
So as you know, there's a teaching, there's a training, and there's a transmission. So this is the basis of what we're doing. So the teaching is the information, is the guidance, the understanding of the nature of the predicament of the human consciousness as it goes through its journey of consciousness. The teaching are the opportunities to gather and be in the process, the intensity of your own process with others in self-examination and discovering the nature of the human psychology that still is obstructing and resisting your ability to know your divine reality. It is also a training that comes from being exposed to people who have made progress in that journey themselves, and interacting with them in a way that they can empower you to find that same strength and capacity within you. And then what's holding this all together is this transmission, this sought force that I discovered in the process of my own journey, that I recognized I was simply a channel for, an instrument for. And that this force is bringing in this new truth consciousness. It's been doing this for years and years. And that now this transmission is not limited by space or time. It does not require you to be with me physically, but rather in this, you can access it through your own awareness in any location or space. It's not even a theory. It is actually fact. We have people who are following our 9 days historically, and even though they meditate at different times, they're having this approximately same experience as if they were with me physically. I like to say that when people come to a certain point, 80%, I would say estimate 80% could get the value if they are with me or not. It's only 20% who need the physical presence, but you don't need my physical presence. You could be in the physical presence of those 80% who are already able to be connected to this force beyond space and time. So all my teaching has been to empower those of you who have been discovering this capacity within yourself, to be recognizing yourself as the vehicle, as the channel, as the vessel for this new consciousness, coming into yourself and observe and recognize how it's impacting people who gather with you. So we have already set in motion an infrastructure by which this can be the basis for what is coming, to support as many who are awakened, spiritually awakened, as possible. That's where our attention needs to be.
Also, if you have any suggestions or comments that you want to make, you can send it to newdharma@gmail.com, because we're looking for other ways that we can support everyone during this time. So we really would appreciate your feedback. So you're halfway through. So
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So what we wanted to do is open this up to any of you who would like to interact with me or Satyamayee. Any questions that arose, or concerns or your own particular struggle in coming to responsibility with what's happening around you, with your family, with your circumstances, in your life. So I will let, how will this be done? They'll do it through chat, make a request?
So they'll put in the comments that they'd like to come up and interact with you.
I got it.
Pull them up.
All right, so you can speak on the comments if you'd like to come forward. All right, can we turn down the speaker a little bit?
No, they need to. That's what they just turned it up.
Just a little bit, yeah. Okay, let's see, how's that? Yeah, that's better. And we don't have anybody in the room with us except for the people who are imagining the audio video. So it's not an empty space for me, but we don't really need speakers when we're just talking in the room.
Latas? Yes.
Yeah, while we're waiting for people to come forward in the comments, there were a number of questions that were written before we started.
Okay, very good. Let's start with that.
Here's Josine in Holland asking, what to do if you are called to action in the world?
Yes. So Josine, in your particular case, you could be of utility. I do believe that this crisis would be a powerful support for you to grow out of what's limiting you by serving others. So I do feel that if there is opportunities for you to bring your particular set of skills, you should do so and do it courageously. But don't risk yourself unnecessarily. Be practical and take care of your personal energy and your personal self. I feel through action, positive action, where you're working in compassionate service, and you will empower what has come to you.
So Tanya from Barcelona would like to come up on screen with you.
Okay, Tanya, welcome. See, you're traveling all the way from Barcelona to Washoe Valley, so you're in that transitional zone. We're waiting for you to reanimate. I don't know if she's gonna make it.
Yes.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, namaste.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you fine. Isn't it a miracle?
Yeah, I can't hear you. Hello, hello.
Oh, you- All right,
We can hear you.
we can hear you.
Hello,
Well, you can't hear
hello.
us. You can't hear us saying this, so sign language. Oh, don't. Okay, what might that be? It's coming. We can hear her here, but she can't hear us. You're not unmuting. You're.
She can't hear you.
She can't hear me.
Just-
Yeah,
She's trying.
we're working out the technology. Are we starting again, or are you giving up?
I mean, Tanya, you could ask your question even if you're having the technical difficulty and listen to the replay.
She's typing it.
Yeah.
Tanya, have you muted? Yeah, let's drop her a comment.
Yeah. Say we show you muted on our side. See, so
We're going to have to work a little bit of technical difficulties left.
yes, we have some. Okay, did she type her question?
No, she hasn't.
Okay.
We're going to have to say goodbye.
Yeah, Tanya, I don't know if you can hear me, but we're going to bump you off and bring someone else up and see if we can work it when you're off screen. Work it out off screen.
Okay. Who do we have next?
I can read another question
Yes.
while.
All right,
someone-
let's do that.
perfect.
So here's a woman named Carmen wrote, is it wrong to think that maybe this pandemic is a bliss to the world? Maybe this will bring a new kind of consciousness to many people on this planet?
I suspect You wrote that before you listened to this talk. So you already have the answer to that question. Yes, you are correct. It is an opportunity. It's a gift.
There's a practical question from Linda about just asking, are all in-person retreats canceled at this time, including Menlo Park?
Oh, if they're not canceled for anything beyond the 30 days, we're not canceling at this time. Okay, so people still want to sign up, but if it comes down to that point, we have to cancel, it will go just online.
Yeah, and of course, the fee structure is changing and the rest of it. We also have the global groups that we're looking to keep in place as much as possible. Part of it is also just because many people come from Europe, and as long as the borders are closed to people coming from Europe, then obviously a greater portion of even that program will have to be online.
Yeah, it's not possible to even say at this point.
Yeah,
So.
but if you haven't gotten signed up for the newsletters, please get that, because we'll keep you updated as if anything shifts as time goes on.
Also, join New Dharma's Facebook, YouTube, and we're going to very soon have a Twitter account because we now have a social media group. So any of those places that you can participate in to keep updated with what we're doing. Okay, do you guys?
Kalima in Boston had written in, is Satri able to intervene on another plane and have an impact on the negative forces behind the coronavirus? And can you instruct those who are interested to do a similar thing?
Well, of course, my work has been intervention at a personal level for a long time, ever since we've implemented the World Peace Meditations. Though they are not a focused intervention, they are preparing people to join with me in interventions. So we haven't done any since we've been in India, but we've spent those 2.5 months in India empowering people to come to a greater effectiveness so that wherever they are, where this intervention occurs, is happening in multiple zones equally. So yes, clearly the universal work will use the World Peace Meditation and the World Peace Meditation in special interventions to help support the process, because this is a darkness until you see the light. It is a pushing forward of what looks like the danger so that you can see that it's a gift. That is the nature of truth consciousness. It doesn't bring in the light so you don't have to experience darkness. It brings in the darkness so that light can expand into what you have not yet met. And that's the same thing that's happening in the collective consciousness. People have been living in a state of blithe, entitled ignorance. And it's been going on, and the actions they've taken from that place have had cumulative consequences, real consequences, which are now coming due. And this is where we're at. We're catching up and meeting the consequences of the ignorance as a collective species. And this is the first clear demonstration of it, even though climate change has been pushing it in other ways. It is where we are going. We are going to eat poison for some years in the process of balancing the imbalance of that blithe, entitled, unconscious indulgence. That this is the era where we got to get real, where we got to quit bullshitting ourselves and quit pretending and distracting ourselves. We got to get down to it in each of ourselves. And then in that, open the space for those who would not be capable of this otherwise to come to it, to whatever extent they're capable. So yes, absolutely. This is the nature of the universal work, what you're doing there in Boston. I hope it can expand in terms of being able to allow you to have even a greater sense of the effectiveness and connection to the shared purpose that we all carry. All right, very good, Mukti. Good to hear from you.
No, that was Kalima.
Kalima. Yeah.
So, Satri, there are 2 questions related to the World Peace Meditation. Durgama asks practically if it's okay to do the World Peace Meditation individually at this time. And Luke in the Netherlands has also asked about the effect the world peace meditation can have with the coronavirus.
Yes, there has never been a restriction on doing world peace meditation by yourself. There is a restriction on doing world peace meditation with just 2 people. 3 or more, there's no restriction for doing the world peace meditation. I mean, you could have 3 people, you could have 100 people. The principle of the world peace meditation is it helps establishes you in that grounded middle center of your human embodiment. And that is the pivotal point where truth meets untruth, where sought meets asought. And it strengthens your own ability to be a digester of that poison, of the asought, so it can become sought-like. So the world peace meditation is a very powerful way to keep strengthening your own ability to eat poison, so that when we do our interventions, you're more capable of being able to participate effectively in those interventions.
Also, for those of you who are unfamiliar with World Peace Meditations, go ahead and write to newdharma@gmail.com. I'm not sure if it's up on the website yet. They were preparing the materials for the website to give you information and also how you can join online with other groups. So go ahead and just say, I'm interested in World Peace Meditation, and send it to newdharma@gmail.com.
And we actually do regular world peace meditations online, so
Hey,
that could be your
there's Linda.
hey. Who's online?
Linda.
This is Linda.
Okay, Linda.
Hi.
Namaste.
Namaste. Hi. Thank you so much for this. So very helpful.
Good.
So I work with elders, people that are sick, sometimes dying, and their families. And so far, the best help that I can give that I see is that I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid about the virus. And so in being me, transmitting that to the families that I help, are there other things that I can be doing?
I believe so. I think the absence of fear is a good start, because the Bhagavad Gita addresses this in the 2nd chapter, where the recognition that death is a natural transition, that having the recognition that we are not our bodies, we're not our personalities, even if in the intellectual understanding, can be very helpful for people at that stage of death if they are suffering from that. The nature of death only is difficult when we resist it, when we're afraid of it. So when you can let people know that death is part of the purpose of life, just like birth, and that what they are is eternal. It actually is never born and never dies, and they will find it there with them on the other side. The Gita says this very strongly in the 2nd chapter. There was never a time when you or I or these kings ceased to exist, nor there will ever come a time when we not exist. When I first read that, it gave me a sense of holding the transition I was in, where even allowing that this could kill me, it was this willingness to die for life to continue. And these verses, 59 and chapter 2, 60, just as the embodied self undergoes the stages of adolescence, youth, and old age, so also it acquires another body. The wise are not deluded about this. So the nature of this is that when you can be in touch with that within yourself, Linda, when you can be in touch with your own eternal self, when you can feel it within your own body, and you're with them in compassion, that without them even knowing it, from the inside out, a greater peace comes to them and gives them the strength to be with where they are. This is the difference you can make.
Thank you.
Very good.
So here's a question from Ollie, who writes, if this is a time for collective awakening and action, how should we allow this to influence our individual practice and introspection, if at all?
Well, Ollie, good to hear from you. And yes, that's a practical question. Clearly, keep up your daily personal practice. And secondly, it will support you to connect online with some of these programs in order, especially the World Peace Meditation program, because I think that you're already there in China and you're influencing the community of people who are around you because of the quality of your own being. So if they could learn a World Peace Meditation, some of them may be interested, then you could actually expand what you do individually to the community right around you. So there's an option, and that information will be on the website, and you can write and say, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I learn to do this? And we have means by which we will be doing this publicly. I think probably not this Tuesday, but maybe next Tuesday, we will do a World Peace Meditation demonstration. It's late at night, so I mean it's at 7 o'clock at night. I'm not sure what time that'll be for you there in China, but probably in an odd hour. But it might be early enough, early morning. It might not be impossible. But that's what I'd recommend. Really good to hear from you.
Tanya has written in and she says, I just wanted to share that I'm really connecting with the longing since I came back from India. And this week, Ashish and I have been running Bhagavad Gita chanting classes online for the Barcelona group. And there is so much joy, positivity, and coming into existence by participants. It seems to be such an incredible technology to be single focused and receive the transmission of the Gita and the Sat Force. Am I on track?
Oh. You know, you're right there with me, Tanya. You're right there. You're at the cutting edge, expanding this work in Barcelona. Good for you.
With Ashish.
And of course, Ashish.
That's great.
Yes.
Oh,
So
Polly.
Polly and John Green are coming up on screen next.
Oh, good.
Tell them to unmute their microphones.
Yeah, for any of you who want to come on screen, be sure your microphone is unmuted.
I'll take another.
Yeah, I can do another
let's
question
do
while
another
they're,
question while we're waiting.
what do you call this, telecommuting?
Yeah, telecommunication.
Here's a question from Philippe. Before this pandemic, humanity was driven by selfishness, which was distancing us from the common humanity. With this new virus, we are forced to be even more distanced from each other. How do you think this will bring us closer to one another and make us more human?
Because we've lived in an in-between zone between being by ourselves and being with others. By being forced to be just with ourselves long enough, we will expand our ability to be truly authentic with others. The difference between going outward is to distract ourselves or entertain ourselves is often a bypass that prevents us from meeting our selfishness and our ignorance and our positionality. So when we're forced to be with ourselves, we get to start meeting that darkness, and it can be quite uncomfortable and suffocating. But we'll see as the months goes on and people are stuck in their houses, what we'll do is it'll set in a process of dejection for a mass of mankind that never understood that they have something to do with how life shows up for them. So this will be a great training period. It's not something they can blame on anybody, although Trump is trying to blame China. This isn't China. This is the world. This is the collective consciousness, learning to come to an appropriate relationship with existence in a way that it hasn't been. It has been bypassing consequences because of the privilege and the protections that we now have so taken for granted. We're not been living life. So the preciousness of life, I feel, will become more real when people go for walks by themselves. When they go out and are in nature, they will start connecting to something of their relationship with the world that's truer than the social engagement that we've been habituated to either online or in person. There you go.
Okay.
So John writes, how do we take a truthful stance to invite those that we touch to wake up and see this as an opportunity without being perceived as someone falling into spiritual bypassing, not acknowledging the realness of the suffering, practical, worldly action required in these times?
There is a spirituality in the West which is an idealized spirituality. It is not the true spirit. It has an idea about how you're supposed to be as a moral or ethical person. But we're talking of a different dimension of spirituality, one that opens up when you're actually able to come out of that egoic identity that makes morality and ethics necessary and move into the common shared struggle of the purpose of the collective consciousness. When you do that, then what comes automatically is a quality of being that whoever you're in touch with is enhanced. But for those who are skeptical, for those who doubt you, for those who are still vested in their own idealized belief system of how you should be or how they should be, there's nothing to be done. You let them be the way they are. Let them go out and take actions aligned with their morality and their ethics. Let them serve the world in that way. So therefore, if they're not called to this greater truth, you have no role to play.
Okay.
So Phil Miller has written in with a request for further tips on staying in truth, whatever arises in the community and world.
Be in touch with yourself, to your true self, to the inner reality that you are. Now, the quality that I ask people to look for is be in touch with your aspiration, with your longing for something greater, a greater truth, a greater quality to be. If you can feel that, in your heart, or you can feel that in your body in some way, then attend to that, nurture that flame, and that will empower you more than anything else. Be in a situation, if on this talk or in other teachers or in spiritual readings, that strengthens that current of longing or aspiration in you, then do those things. Meditation may work, chanting may work, being with other spiritual people may work, being able to receive the transmission of a spiritual teacher will work. All of these will keep the focus on that quality of striving, longing within yourself. And then that automatically will break the hold of the ego, break the hold of the ignorance as it grows and grows. Have your outer life align with your inner longing and aspiration. By aligning your outer life with your inner, in your ordinary day-to-day consciousness, you're put into remembrance with your purpose. The advantage of this pandemic is that you are going to be forced to be more inward, more simple, quiet, silent, and still. Simple, silent, still. The more you're able to be in that self-fulfilled state of your own being, the more it can grow in you. And it will then permeate what's left in your outer life that isn't allowed and aligned, and allow you to discard those things and become more and more aligned inwardly and outwardly. Okay, there it is. All right, we've got one more. And then,
Okay, so John Green wasn't able to come on screen, but he's written in, I feel called to be of service to the people I work with in my practice, but also have a rajasic tendency to jump in and be pretty mindless of risk to myself. How do I balance this? I've been struggling a lot with distraction and uncertainty of how to tend to the needs of my patients and myself and family.
Withdraw from it. Withdraw. Say you're doing it because you feel it's necessary. You're not helping people in a way that helps people. You bring some quality of your being, but your addiction to helping is an addiction, the need to be needed. If you can stay and come and stay with yourself, without that distraction, you'll be in greater capacity to meet what's left in you that will allow you to move further on the spiritual path. So this is an opportunity, John, to pull back from those things because you have a necessity that you can assign the cause to, and to pull back from that part of you that wants to give yourself away before you're in a place where you can give that away and not diminish yourself. Okay, then I feel that's it. All right, I want to thank you all for joining us. We will do this again, and know that at a very real level, I'm with you. What I am is what you are, what we all are, in the most intimate way, in the most true way. So what we're going to do right now is just take 5 minutes. We'll sit in silence and stillness together. Just open your heart up, open your being up. Be silent, still, and simple while we do this silent sitting. It'll be for 5 minutes. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste.